So there's a very good chance that you're familiar with 1 Million by Paco Rabanne. Everything from the original to the multitude of flankers that have been released throughout the years. Well, in 2022 we have a brand new fragrance. This one is called 1 Million Elixir. Is this one going to be as good as Privé, or some people actually really love 1 Million Lucky, or as good as the original in some people's eyes? I'm excited to give you my thoughts on the smell, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I tell you all about 1 Million Elixir, the brand new fragrance by Paco Rabanne, I give you my thoughts on the smell, how it works on my skin, the performance, the longevity, all that good stuff. I do want to start things off by briefly mentioning that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload these daily videos. And of course, give this video a thumbs up if you took something of value from today's episode. It would mean so much to me. So here we have a fragrance that was just released. And of course, if you know the original 1 Million, you know these are fragrances that kind of lean on the sweeter side of things. As a matter of fact, the original 1 Million has a reputation for smelling like bubblegum, and it does kind of have like this bubblegum accord within it, but there are some other unique ingredients to it. I know rose has been a common ingredient found among a lot of the 1 Million fragrances, especially the, I forget if it's called intense or extreme, but I've done a video on that too, and that actually had a more prominent rosy feature about it. Cinnamon has always been a mainstay. When you take a look at this note breakdown, you have apple, Davana, vanilla, cedarwood, patchouli, damask rose. So you have like this floral sweet vibe about it, and it actually does remind me of another designer fragrance on the market. That fragrance being Stronger With You Absolutely by Emporio Armani. It also bears resemblance to a few other fragrances because I know there's even a Valentino that has had a Stronger With You smell about it. So I think what we're seeing is that on the designer industry, when there is a fragrance that does very well, has a unique sweetness about it, maybe other designer brands follow suit by kind of creating their own version of it. Well, in any case, I'm going to be spotlighting the differences, letting you know what I think of the smell. Let's start things off with the presentation. So right in the opening of this fragrance, the sweetness is inevitably apparent. There's definitely a nice dose of vanilla in here, and that's possibly a good thing because I know especially recently we've had so many designer fragrances that have this overdose of tonka bean in them, and although it's not listed as an ingredient, there is actually tonka bean in this fragrance, but I'm just appreciating the fact that I'm getting more vanilla than tonka bean, so I hope that makes sense. So I do like the vanilla that's in here, and it's not gourmand, but there's enough of a sweetness that allows this fragrance to fall appropriately within the 1 Million collection and to not stick out like a sore thumb, because that can happen sometimes, especially when you're used to smelling fragrances with a certain consistency and then a flanker gets released and it smells absolutely nothing like all of its predecessors. I'm thinking about fragrances like Fleur du Mal by Jean Paul Gaultier. That was very different from the other Le Mal fragrances that people were accustomed to throughout the years. In the case of this fragrance, it has the vanilla, it has the damask rose that's in here, but it's not an overly rosy fragrance. As a matter of fact, it kind of has like this nutty sweetness about it. And it's funny because when you think about Stronger With You Absolutely by Emporio Armani, the notes that they actually have in common are the Davana and the vanilla. And both of those notes are found in this fragrance as well. But Stronger With You Absolutely also has a chestnut accord, if I'm remembering correctly. I know I've reviewed the fragrance, but I review hundreds and hundreds of fragrances, so I forget note breakdowns from time to time, but it definitely has a similar type of a sweetness. So you're gonna get the apple in the opening. It's a little fresh, a little crisp, nothing overly done. It's not like a Greenly by Parfum de Marly. There's certainly a lot of other fragrances on the market that have a very strong apple aroma. You're not necessarily going to find that with this fragrance. I feel like it's really all about the vanilla. It's all about the faux tonka bean. There is definitely tonka bean in here. It's all about the sweeter ingredients that are lingering underneath. And then the Davana adds a really nice quirkiness to the fragrance, a little green, a little herbal, a little aromatic. It also has some woodsy tonalities in the base as well. But again, they're overshadowed by that vanilla ingredient. Now, it's not a boozy vanilla, it's not a bourbon vanilla, it's just smooth, sort of I suppose, ethyl vanillin that kind of unifies everything and allows all of the other ingredients to work in harmony with that lingering sweetness that you're going to get in the base. So myself personally, I really enjoy the way that this fragrance smells. I do think that now that we're seeing a trend with particular notes and ingredients and smells and DNAs, I feel like there are a lot of twists in the industry, and this is inevitably a twist of Stronger With You, at least one of the flankers. I think it's absolutely, might even be the original, but I think it's a smell that's going to appeal to a lot of people, and I don't hate designer brands for doing that. If there's something popular and there's a DNA that works very, very well, and you want to follow the trend, but you believe you can make perhaps a better version of it, or a longer lasting version of it, or a version of it that smells of higher quality, please do it, right? Because as consumers, we're looking for that. And I do think that this one smells great. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. I think the caveat, especially with a name like Elixir, this is the type of fragrance that I would be more inclined to wear in the colder weather. And so I'm probably going to allow it to take a back seat now that the weather is getting really hot. I think it's like 86 degrees Fahrenheit today. So there's no chance I'm wearing this today. But come September, October, I might pull this back out. In the meantime, I have the original 1 million. I have 1 million Lucky. I have a number of flankers from the brand. I'd be more than comfortable wearing those fragrances over the next few months, or perhaps some other Paco Rabanne fragrances that are not 1 million that in my opinion work well in the hotter weather. Maybe something like Phantom, right? That's a vanilla based fragrance too. But anyway, I like what they did here, and I think that this is fairly consistent with what we've come to expect from the Paco Rabanne brand. They release sweet fragrances. That is something that has sort of embedded itself and become known as their reputation. And here we have a fragrance that conforms to that while still doing things differently and creating a little bit of disparity among other 1 million fragrances, but giving you a smell that you've smelled in the designer fragrance world before. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, this is not a unique fragrance. I think it's a good fragrance, but it's not unique. It does remind me of the Stronger With You by Emporio Armani DNA. It does things a little differently. It has, you know, the Divana, it has the woods, it has the damask rose, but it does have a lot of unifying ingredients and a lot of ingredients that are paralleled in both versions. In terms of the longevity, a solid 8 hours. So Paco Rabanne fragrances, people know them to be quite loud and boisterous, and they do definitely give you your money's worth, and I don't think that there's, you know, any deviation from that with this particular release. It lasts a long time. Projection is great for the first hour of application, and then it did start to sit closer to the skin right around that 4 to 5 hour mark, or at least within an elbow's length. Right around that 8 hour mark, it pretty much disappears. You're ready to put on something else. Versatility, it does lean a little masculine. These are just recommendations, so you can wear what you like, wear what makes you happy. It does lean a little bit masculine. I personally find this fragrance to be fairly unisex. I wouldn't wear that in the hotter weather, and I think this one can be worn casually and formally. I do think it's going to appeal to somebody who's a little bit younger, just, you know, because of the sweetness. And in terms of the presentation, I think the name is cool, although it might be following suit from Dior, right? So Dior has Sauvage Elixir. Now we have 1 million Elixir. Before you know it, you're gonna have a Bleu de Chanel Elixir, right? So let's just wait for it. I think it's going to happen. You know, people love following trends, but the presentation is really cool. I love how it has the little black accents in between the 1 and the triangle here. My final verdict on this fragrance is it's a great fragrance. I'm happy I purchased it from Macy's. I don't regret buying the small bottle because I have so many fragrances in my collection. I'm happy to have had the opportunity to review it for my loyal subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you took something of value from today's episode. It is a great, sweet, rosy, slightly spicy, slightly effervescent fragrance. Definitely has gourmand leanings without being a full gourmand. And I think it's a great clubbing, partying, night out fragrance, but one that you might not want to wear in the summertime. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever I do upload these daily videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something today. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.